One of the stranger pieces of outrage that I saw this week was people getting upset that Disney Plus was getting the Saw movies, the horror movies that started coming out a couple of decades ago. Really frightening if you're expecting them to be on Disney Plus, which technically they are. But what this misses is the fact that they're on Hulu. These are not movies that kids are going to be seeing because they're signed into Disney Plus. These are movies that are going to be on Hulu. This is actually a perfect piece of Disney's strategy of providing a little bit of content for everyone. It's part of moving the Hulu app, which is going to be more general entertainment, more adult entertainment, onto the Disney Plus app. We're going to see the same thing later this year when ESPN is going to have a tile on the Disney app, and there's going to be an ESPN over-the-top service completely built for streaming starting in 2025. As an investor, one of the things you have to think about is what is Disney doing long-term and what are they actually building? Because Netflix has a lot of the same things. There's a ton of horror content on Netflix, but people don't have the same level of outrage that there's horror content on Netflix because there's a ton of content on Netflix that most people don't want to see. And the fact is that most people who don't want to see horror content on Disney aren't going to see it either. So I want to go through exactly how to think about this and the challenge that Disney has in actually communicating this to consumers. And I'll put this into a little bit of context with a concept I like to call the smiling curve. Hopefully that will help explain exactly why Disney is doing this. My name is Travis Hoium. Thanks for watching Asymmetric Investing. Please subscribe here on YouTube for all my content. And thanks to this video sponsor, The Motley Fool. If you go to fool.com/ASYM, they'll give you their top 10 stocks to buy right now. First of all, let's look at exactly what is now on Disney Plus. This is my Disney Plus account. So you may be able to tell that I have kids that have taken over my account on multiple occasions because I've got stuff that's kind of all over the place. But what you're not going to see in my account, because I don't watch horror movies, is the Saw movies. Where you would potentially see those Saw movies is in this tile right over here, the Hulu tile. This is going to bring you to all of the Hulu content that is available. And you can even search for Saw movies and find all 7 Saw movies. But what they say when you go into these movies is that this is included in your Hulu subscription. So that's where you go here to what the options are for Disney Plus. Well, you can just get Disney Plus, or you can bundle with Hulu if you would also like the more adult content that's going to be available on Hulu. Or you can go with the trio, which is Disney Plus, Hulu, and ESPN Plus. There are ad options and there are ad-free options for both of those bundles. But as a consumer, you're choosing to have content that is going to be geared more towards adults by signing up for Hulu, more towards sports fans if you're signing up for ESPN Plus. So this is the content that Disney is putting out into the world. Disney Plus is not a kids streaming service. It's a streaming service that's trying to provide everything to everyone. And that's the entire point. That is what Disney is trying to do. If you're trying to appeal to everyone and build a streaming service, the way to think about it is with the smiling curve. And I'll get to that in just a second. But the content decisions that Disney is making by signing people like Taylor Swift and the Eras Tour, by adding Saw, by having a Marvel tile, by having a Star Wars tile, by having the Kardashians and the Simpsons and Blippi and Queen and Hamilton, all of this content is in service of providing content that is either very much in demand by a small number of people or is in demand by a very, very large number of people. And that is the whole point of content decisions on streaming services. Thanks to our friends at The Motley Fool for sponsoring this video. Visit fool.com/ASYM for the top 10 stocks to buy right now. The way to think about these content decisions is in reference to the smiling curve. And this is a concept that I use a lot here on Asymmetric Investing because it explains a lot of what's going on with the world of technology. You're either building something that's going to appeal to billions of people or hundreds of millions of people, or you're building or buying something that is going to appeal to a much smaller number of people, but they're going to be very passionate about what you're building. So this channel, for example, is not going to be watched by a billion people like the Taylor Swift Eras Tour, but it is going to be watched by tens of thousands of people who are interested in the topics that I'm talking about, like asymmetric investing, finding stocks that have 10x potential, people who want to beat the market. And I'm building this channel on YouTube, which has billions of users. I don't need to reach a billion users by being on Netflix or being on Disney because their incentives are not the same as my incentives. But YouTube, on the other hand, is built for creators and for smaller channels who are looking for a niche audience. So when you think about the content that are going onto all these streaming services, you need to think of it as, is this going to appeal to a ton of people, or is it going to appeal to a smaller number of people who are a very, very passionate audience? When you look at Disney signing deals with college football or the NFL or the NBA, that is appealing to both a large audience and a passionate audience. So if you're a football fan in 2025 and you don't have cable TV, you're going to have to sign up for Disney Plus and get the ESPN app. There's really going to be no choice. If you're a parent and you have small children, you are more than likely going to have to sign up for the Disney Plus app because that's the content that kids want to watch. That's maybe a little bit smaller audience, maybe a little bit more niche audience, but it's going to be a passionate audience. Same thing with something like horror movies. Passionate audience who want to watch the kind of content that they want to watch. Netflix has been leaning into this for years. They've been building their own horror content because they know that that's the kind of things that a subset of people really want to watch. So it may seem a little bit random that Disney is signing the kind of content that they are. The Eras Tour, Saw. How does that go with Marvel movies, Star Wars movies, and Pixar movies? Well, you have to think of it in the context of each of these different streaming services, each of these pieces of the bundle as being kind of their own smiling curve. So if you have kids content on the Disney Plus app, or kids or family related content, you're gonna have content that's gonna appeal to a vast majority of people. That would be the traditional Disney movies, Pixar movies, things like that. And then you have the more niche content, some of which I showed here, something that a kid is really gonna get passionate about and want to watch it every single day. Their family's not going to be able to cancel that service because they're so passionate about Blippi, for example. The Hulu tile is a little bit more on the adult side. So you're going to want to have content that adults really want to see. Saw, Only Murders in the Building. Hulu has been a very successful streaming service because they've been able to build content that people seek out. And so they've got a spectrum of content, but it's more geared towards adults. On the sports side, you're going to have the same thing. You're going to have those high price ticket items like the NBA, like the NFL, like college football. But don't be surprised if you see smaller, more niche pieces of content on there as well. Maybe cricket makes its way to the ESPN app. F1 is going to be on the ESPN app. Those niche sports are going to be valuable because consumers that are into those sports are going to have to sign up for the streaming service. So that's the way to think about all of these streaming services. And this is the reason that Disney is actually making a good decision by moving into things like horror movies through the Hulu tile. You have to explicitly sign up for Disney Plus and add Hulu to get this kind of content. Now, the challenge is, do kids find horror content on the Disney Plus app something they're not really expecting? That's going to be something that Disney is going to have to work through. Netflix has obviously worked through that. Hasn't been a huge issue for them. Maybe it's a little bit more of a pain point for Disney, but we've seen the app change and kind of the controls of it, the parental controls change over time. So it's not something that I'm particularly worried about as an investor or even as a parent. I don't think my kids are even aware that the Hulu app exists because we don't go into it. And it's not available on the kids' profiles. So this got a lot of strange headlines over the last week or two, but I think this is actually the right kind of move for Disney, getting content that is going to lean into that smiling curve, lean into passionate fans who are going to sign up for your services because they have the specific piece of content that they want to watch. So actually, love this move by Disney. What do you think? Leave your comments in the comment section below. Don't forget to subscribe to Asymmetric Investing. Thanks for watching, everybody. See you here next time.